Welcome to the REI Rookies podcast, episode number 53, where we let you follow us on our journey towards financial freedom using the power of real estate. I'm Josh Koth, and this episode is a little bit different. We recorded when I was a member of a Millionaire Real Estate Investor panel, which was focused on the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor by Gary Keller. And we extracted the audio from this presentation. The audio is a little wacky. Hopefully you guys can understand everything that's going on. I thought it was good. It kind of encapsulated Jack and I's story of getting Valley Property Partners started, how we got going in investing. And so I had some good answers from 3 other panelists as well. So check out the first chunk of audio from the Millionaire Real Estate Investor panel discussion.
Hey everybody, I'm Josh Koth, Moorhead native. Moorhead High. Excellent. So, yeah, go Spuds, right? So I have a company called Valley Property Partners, and my story, I'll kind of get into the why a little bit, maybe just you can kind of relate, because I'm kind of new in my journey of investing in real estate, about 2 years in right now. So I was sitting there running, and if you've done this, you can maybe identify running the numbers on my retirement, right? You've seen those predictions, you have this much in your retirement account, you're this old, assuming this rate of return, you're gonna have this amount to survive on when you reach retirement age, right? And I was like, I'm not gonna make it, this isn't good, these numbers aren't good. And I had saved more than the average person. I felt at my age I had a pretty good amount sitting in my IRA, and I still couldn't get the numbers to work. So I said, I need to figure something else out. I'm not gonna make it. And I was running the numbers saying, basically you needed to have about 1.4 million, I think, sitting in an account in order to spin off the average, American family's income of about 40 grand a year to live on. And I was like, well, that's a reduction in lifestyle. I don't like that. I'm not going to make it to the 1.4 million in the time I have left, so I don't like that. None of this was acceptable, right? Also, that meant working until I was 65 plus, and I was sitting with my financial advisor at the time, and she started saying things like, well, you can reduce your lifestyle. That's one option. You probably won't have as many expenses when you're that age. And I was thinking, I want to have more expenses. I want to travel more, do more things. And then she said, well, you don't have to stop working at 65. You can just keep going a little bit longer. Okay. Strike 2. I need to figure something else out. So all roads kind of, then I needed to figure out how to generate passive income. And I honestly didn't care how it was. I could invent the next great Shark Tank idea or follow a tried and true method that had worked for millions of people in the past, which is real estate. And actually, Bill and Dave here had a little class right at this almost exact month in their house, like, hey, you want to get into real estate? I was in a networking group with Bill, and he's like, sure, having a little class. And I said, and he said it was full, and I said, I'm coming to this thing. Just make a spot for me. So that was kind of the spark I needed. And then I just started looking on Zillow. Actually, like just randomly, like the agent things pop up. Lee Rogenkamp over here from Keller Williams showed up at the first house, and that was my first rental. So I just went full on, pulled all my money out of retirement. Convinced my wife by running a simulation. If I leave all the money in here at the rate of return we've been getting, here's what we'll have. If I pull all the money, pay the taxes and penalties, here's what we'll have, and I leapfrogged myself in about 5 years, right? She was on board. She was the cheerleader as far as that, so I just started buying. Partnered up with Jack here, so we have a company called Valley Property Partners, and our whole goal is to, buy and hold is the ultimate goal. So we do some flipping and wholetailing, as we call it, where we just buy cheap and put it back in the market. And any of the chunks of money that we make, we try to put into buy and hold long-term hold properties. So we're up to 20 properties, 29 doors. It's worth about 1.8 million. Gives you a little bit of a price point difference here in Fargo.
Well, we've also held our properties for longer. We've only been doing this for 2 years.
Yeah, so worth about 1.8. But I mean, and the nice thing is that the equity in those is about 800,000, and I started off with less than 200. So that's really, that's wealth on the thin air, right? Just increasing your net worth by purchasing these properties. So that's kind of my 2-year story, and we're just kind of at the beginning. So our goal is to, we have passive income goals that we want to hit, and then, 46 now, so 65, hopefully I won't have to work that long. That's the goal. So that's my story.
How did you guys find and how were you able to afford your first investment property?
I guess I'll start. So our first investment property was our first home. A lot of people really struggle with trying to get into that first investment property. And so we bought our first investment property really with 3.5% down because we lived in it. And what I love about that property is, if you don't mind, I'm going to just do a little demo here because I think it's really powerful. So we bought our first investment property as our first home. It was $175,000. And because we lived in it, we bought it for 3.5% down, which is about $6,125. We lived in it for 3 years. Okay, so we paid the mortgage on it for 3 years. And then I got pregnant, so we decided we needed to move up. And then, so this was in 2001. Okay, so in 2004, we moved. And literally, complete strangers have been paying our mortgage off for the last 14 years. Okay, so 14 years. Complete strangers are paying our mortgage for us. You guys get that? Complete strangers pay your mortgage for you. So they've been paying our mortgage for 14 years. Right now, we owe about $80,000 on it. Okay? And because of the rapidly increasing home prices in Austin, we bought in a neighborhood that was close to downtown, but when we bought there, it wasn't that nice. This property is now worth $550,000. Okay? So 550 minus 80, what's that? 470. Okay. So literally we turned $6,125 into $470,000. So that was our first investment property. And to be honest with you, because of the taxes in Austin, we have a really high tax rate, and because this neighborhood is appreciating drastically, the cash flow is not good. Right? It's not bad. We've never not cash flowed, but we're not making tons of money on cash flow. But for us, we don't care because for us, it's all about the net worth. And so if you look at it that way, you can see what the opportunity in real estate is.
Well, I bought my first property while I was in college. And I always, I never knew anything about investment property, and nobody taught me to buy it. Never read a book about it. So I was into my third year in college, doing degree in computer science, and I found a fourplex right by MSUN. And I was just met an owner outside, and he was selling it, older gentleman. And I talked to him, and I said, how much is that? I just want to try to find out. So he told me that it was close to $110,000 at that time, long time, 15 years ago or so. So I said, if you teach me how I can buy it and find tenants, and I'll buy it. And not knowing what to do, how to get financing, so I went to the bank next day. We put a deal together, 110. I was like, sure, that's fine. So 110 is good, not knowing what is words or anything like that. So, but I didn't want to have a mortgage. A mortgage was a bad deal for me. I didn't want to start doing a mortgage thing, paying $1,200, $1,500 a month. So I went to the bank next day, and I say, I want a loan to buy a rental property. And he said, how much you have to put down? I'm like, nothing. And he said, that's sure, so let's sit down and talk. That amazes me that I have no experience,
Right.
nothing to put down,
Door slam.
no experience at all, and somebody's talking to me about lending me money. And if I want to buy something else, nobody will try to buy a car without no money and no experience and no credit or anything. So, well, they said you can get FHA loan with 0% down. I'm like, sure, that sounds good. So, got FHA loan, started living in one, rented 3 of them, 3 units. And the guy taught me some stuff, and then he moved away. So then I was in the middle of, I have no idea what to do with this. So basically what happened in a year ago, I have a couple tenants who moved out. I put new tenants in, and those tenants end up being bad tenants, of course. You all experience that. So I thought, that's a bad business. I can't do this. So they stole stuff. I didn't know how to run the backgrounds and check things. So I said, I'm going to sell it. I'm pretty sure you guys know a guy named Troy Walseth. He used to be here in Florida right now. So I got to know him over the years, and I called him up, and I'm gonna sell this place. This is the worst thing I did is, what happened? He sold my place, and being a college student, being going in third year, I suddenly made $22,000 by selling it after paying the commission. That was amazing. Then I started thinking a little bit more.
Especially since you put no money down.
No money down. While other students with me were fighting to get a $6 an hour job, here I made a $22,000. Didn't invest anything in it. And also, I thought, yeah, I had some problems because I didn't have experience in it, but for the most part, somebody paid my mortgage. I'm like, there's nothing like it actually. Let's go buy more. So I went $22,000. I have some money saved, so I went and bought 4 more duplexes actually, a couple in Fargo, a couple in Morehead. So buying that and starting from there, and that's kind of, I went and bought my first rental property. So it was a good experience.
Yeah, for me, like I said in my introduction, I just literally was on the MLS. I mean, just didn't know any better. I thought that's where all properties exist that are for sale, right? And called the Zillow ad. Lee showed up, looked through the property. I think it was listed for like $81,000 or something. We looked through. It was fairly trashed. The bathroom was destroyed and needed, it showed like crap. So I knew that was a good thing as an investor because I knew I could add value, and my competition as far as from a buying perspective was diminished. So we made an offer, and I just used, I emptied my IRA, so I had 20% down. So I went down to whatever it was, 16,000 or something. And then I put about 10 grand into it, fixing it up. So I was about 80 some in, rented for $950 a month. And so that was my first cash flowing property. So, and the light bulb started to go off. All of a sudden that passive income's coming in. And I realized I was gonna run out of my own money eventually, right? So I started to kind of prepare for how to keep acquiring properties once you're out of your available cash, right? And that's, the whole other people's money thing. So I had to get creative, eventually, but that was how I acquired the first one, and feel free to apply now.